Ladies and gentlemen, recent days, we are witnessing another turning point in the history of the Middle East. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, after the end of his 24-year regime, has fled to Russia. This event bears similarities to the fates of two other significant leaders in the region, Saddam Hussein of Iraq and Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. So, how can Assad's escape be compared to the falls of these leaders? Let's delve deeper into these historical moments. Saddam Hussein's rule in Iraq came to a dramatic end with the American invasion in 2003. Saddam attempted to hide, but in 2006, he was captured, tried, and executed. This event symbolized not only the collapse of his regime but also Iraq's descent into chaos. Muammar Gaddafi, in a similarly tragic fashion, met a bloody end. During the Arab Spring in 2011, when NATO-backed rebel forces began to besiege him, he tried to flee but was captured and brutally killed. Since then, Libya has remained in instability and division. As for Bashar al-Assad, for now, he has managed to avoid a bloody end. As rebel forces approached Damascus, Assad, with the support of Russian intelligence, fled to Moscow with his family. His escape appears more calculated and controlled compared to Saddam and Gaddafi. However, the consequences for Syria still carry deep uncertainties. In both Iraq and Libya, the fall of authoritarian leaders created a dangerous power vacuum. In Iraq, the downfall of Saddam led to years of sectarian violence and the rise of extremist groups like ISIS. The country struggled with weak governance, corruption, and internal divisions, becoming a battleground for regional and international powers. In various militia groups controlling different regions. Despite attempts to form a unified government, Libya remained divided and unstable, facing economic collapse and ongoing conflict. For Syria, the risks are strikingly similar. Assad's departure could lead to internal conflicts driven by ideological differences and political interests among opposing groups. Furthermore, the continued involvement of foreign actors like Turkey, Iran, and Russia in shaping Syria's future present significant obstacles to peace and stability. Saddam Hussein's downfall was the result of a direct American military intervention. The justification for this intervention was the claim of weapons of mass destruction, although those claims remain controversial. While Saddam's regime was toppled, the subsequent instability in Iraq raised serious doubts about the effectiveness of foreign interventions. Gaddafi's fall, on the other hand, was hastened by NATO airstrikes. However, the lack of a comprehensive post-war plan turned Libya into a chaotic and fragmented state. Libyans faced more violence and instability in the post-2011 period, and there was little progress toward democratization. Assad's situation is quite different. His escape was orchestrated with the support of Russia, his key ally in the Syrian civil war. Unlike Saddam and Gaddafi, Assad secured his safety with international backing. This situation strengthens Russia's influence over Syria, but concerns remain about how other powers like the US and Iran will react to this changing dynamic. One common theme in all three cases is the devastating impact on civilians. In Iraq, the fall of Saddam caused massive displacement, economic collapse, and the deaths of thousands of innocent people. The country still struggles with sectarian divisions and is having difficulty rebuilding its social fabric. In Libya, the post-Gaddafi era has been similarly grim. The lack of a central government has left citizens at the mercy of militias. Basic services are scarce, and millions of people continue to live in poverty and fear. Syria is no different. The civil war has displaced more than half of the population, with millions fleeing the country as refugees in neighboring states. Cities have been destroyed, and the scars of war will take decades to heal. Assad's escape may mark the symbolic end of his government, but it does not erase the suffering of the Syrian people. Rebuilding the country will require a concerted effort from all internal and external stakeholders. History shows us that the fall of a dictator does not necessarily result in peace or democracy. The examples of Iraq and Libya reveal the dangers of leaving a power vacuum and not addressing the root causes of division and conflict. So, can Syria avoid repeating these mistakes? The chance for the country to rebuild exists, but this will only be possible if opposing groups come together and prioritize the needs of the people over personal or political interests. Now, let's focus on an important question. After the fall of the dictators in Iraq and Libya, How much democracy was gained? In Iraq, democratic elections have been held, but the process has been overshadowed by corruption, sectarianism, and foreign intervention. Political parties are often divided along ethnic and religious lines, which hinders effective governance and creates deep divisions in the country. Recent protests reflect the public's dissatisfaction with the political elites and the lack of progress in improving living conditions. While Iraq technically has a democracy, it is not a functioning or inclusive one. Libya, however, is in a far worse situation. The country remains divided between rival governments and warring factions. Elections have been repeatedly postponed, and the promises of a democratic Libya are increasingly distant. Many Libyans feel that the post-Gaddafi era has brought more suffering, violence and instability continue to overshadow efforts at democratization. For Syria, another critical question arises: can a leader previously known as a terrorist, like HTS leader, transform into a democratic one? History offers some examples of leaders who have overcome their pasts and evolved into statesmen, but this process is complex and rare. For HTS to gain international legitimacy and rebuild trust among Syrians, it would require renouncing extreme ideologies, promoting inclusivity, and prioritizing the country's future over personal or group interests. While the challenges are great, this transformation is not entirely impossible. As Assad steps into exile, questions about his future remain unanswered. Will he be tried for war crimes? Or will Russia continue to protect him from accountability? While international human rights organizations have called for his prosecution, geopolitical realities may prevent this from happening. Meanwhile, Syria faces the monumental task of rebuilding. The country's shattered infrastructure needs to be restored, millions of refugees must be safely repatriated, and a government that represents all Syrians must be established. These are not tasks that can be accomplished overnight. They require unity, determination, and a shared vision for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Bashar al-Assad's escape marks the end of an era, but it also signals the beginning of a new chapter for Syria. Can the country rise from the ashes of war, or will it suffer the same fate as Iraq and Libya, divided, unstable, and unable to recover? The answer to this question lies with the Syrian people, but it will require the support of those genuinely committed to peace and stability in the region. What do you think? Can Syria overcome the challenges it faces and find a path to lasting peace? And can a leader once known for a terrorist identity transform into a democratic leader? Share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis on this developing story. Thank you for watching.